Now at 6 o'clock, buses that are late or don't show up at all. That's what a WBTV investigation found after we got a tip about problems with Cat City buses.
Now investigative reporter David Hodges is asking questions that are leading to change and pressing the Cat's CEO why his agency should get more money to expand a transit system that can't even operate its current routes.
Lost my place, lost my job due to COVID. I was forced to take the transportation system a lot longer than I expected to take since I've been here.
We followed along with Brian Williams one day as he used the bus to get from the hotel where he lives to his job at South Park Mall.
Do you feel like you can count on this bus?
No.
The bus has been so unreliable, sometimes it doesn't show up at all as he's trying to get to work. That's when he called members of Charlotte City Council. We asked him to start documenting his experience using the bus.
How am I supposed to get back and forth to work?
And he did.
And again, there is no driver. There's no driver for the 851 and no driver for the 951.
When the bus doesn't come, Williams has to find another way to work.
When they don't show up, who you got? So people like me suffer. And when I have to take an Uber, I'm pissed off because I'm trying to save money and get myself out this situation.
Since January 1st, Williams says he's had to find a different way to work at least half a dozen times. In addition to Williams, Katz has faced recent criticism from students at UNC Charlotte who have also complained about the bus's lack of reliability.
It's not the system, it's the people that are running the system that are doing stuff wrong. And until they fix those people, nothing is going to change.
What's your response to him about why he should believe in the bus system?
Well, number one, we did talk with Mr. Williams, and I'm keenly aware of his problem and of this circumstance, and I'm very apologetic for that.
CAT CEO John Lewis said one of the main issues is staffing.
We've got over 40 plus vacancies in bus operations right now. There have been 60 days or greater.
To make up for all those vacancies, Lewis says they're changing the way they reassign drivers to fill gaps, pulling from more frequent routes instead of the ones that only run once an hour. He also says they're trying to provide better real-time information on the CATS app so riders will know if a bus is running late or won't show up at all. These changes aimed at shoring up reliability come as Lewis, Katz, and the city of Charlotte are trying to sell a 1-cent sales tax increase to expand transportation throughout the region.
How are you going to convince people that this extra money is worth it if they don't have faith in it right now?
Again, this is a labor-related issue in the short term. The long term is about more frequency, and that requires more buses, more funding, more operators, and more mechanics.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
What's your message to them?
The more money you give, it's not going to fix any problems because you still have the people that are running it. There's no 56, no 57.
Since we interviewed Williams, he's still had the same issues with CAT's reliability.
Somebody has to care. Somebody has to care. And until somebody at the top cares and it's going to trickle down or somebody starts making them power moves, it's not going to work.
It just feels like they don't care right now?
They don't. They care about the money.
We asked CATS for data on its buses' on-time performance as well as how often there are not drivers for some routes, like what's happening to Williams. We're still waiting for that information. And Jamie, I'll be joining you at 7:30 as we look more into CATS issues and what the CEO says they're doing to fix them. Back to you.
We look forward to that, a very well-told story, and even more to come at 7:30. Thank you, Dave.
Investigation has found a security gap with CATs that could put bus drivers and passenger safety at risk. Some of the city's biggest transit centers, where both drivers and riders meet, currently have no security officers at all. This even in the wake of the shooting that killed driver Ethan Rivera.
WBTV investigative reporter David Hodges joins us from the Eastland Center, where drivers said they haven't seen evidence of the security boost that CATS has promised.
There's been a big emphasis on security for CATS bus drivers over the past couple of weeks, but we received a tip that there was a major glaring hole. Here at the Eastland Transit Center, we were told there were no security officers, and we found that to be the case here and several other locations across the city.
We need more protection.
Safety and security has been a priority for CATS employees since bus driver Ethan Rivera was shot and killed on the job on February 12th.
I have been assaulted. My peers have been assaulted.
Late last month, drivers took their concerns about security to City Council, and CATS CEO John Lewis promised to prioritize their safety.
We are working again with our union to really provide targeted response in areas that are most concerning to our employees.
But our investigation found there was no security officers at all at some of the most frequented CATS bus stops. CATS has 4 main transit centers where the volume of drivers and passengers is often greatest. At 3 of them, WBTV could not find any security officers. At the South Park Mall stop, the Rosa Parks station on Beatty's Ford, and at Eastland Mall, centers that normally are staffed by security. We even asked drivers if they had seen security officers at all over the past 2 weeks.
Have you seen any security officers here recently, like at the station? No? Been a couple weeks.
It's not just the drivers, it's passengers being put in danger as well.
Renee Holzbach is a CATS bus driver who just left her job after the shooting of Ethan Rivera. She said she's been assaulted while on the job too.
I didn't even see him when he got on the bus. I just knew that I got struck. And my nose was broken.
Even though Holzbach was on CATS safety committee, she says she was never made aware of a lack of security officers at any of the transit centers.
I really believe that it's just this company, Charlotte Area Transit System, that is not safe. And I've been trying to tell them for years as a safety officer.
WBTV reached out to CATS about the hole in security at transit centers and asked if there were any other gaps. They didn't answer many of our questions, but in an email statement, a spokesperson wrote, "It is CATS' understanding that there was an issue between Allied, the security contractor, and one of its subcontractors who provided security at facilities such as Rosa Parks Community Transit Center. While Allied secures additional officers, CATS safety and security staff is providing coverage at facilities. Additionally, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department has increased its presence at CAT facilities, including the Charlotte Transportation Center in Uptown." While CATS is saying they've taken these steps, our visits to these transit centers found no security at all. Holzbach says CATS needs to back up its words with actions because drivers don't feel safe or protected.
That's traumatizing. Who can operate a bus like that, you know, always looking over their shoulder, always thinking, you know, is this my day? Am I going to make it back to my family?
In Charlotte, David Hodges, WBTV, on your side.
Such distress, you can hear it there. We're continuing to ask CATS what the cause is of this issue and what is being done to fill in those security holes. We have more on this story on our website. You can find it now by heading to WBTV.com/investigations.
Leaders are also demanding action from those who run the Charlotte area transit system after a series of WBTV investigations raised concerns about safety and reliability. In February, WBTV revealed that CATS buses were sometimes not showing up at all, forcing people who rely on them to find another way to work. Yesterday, another investigation found a lack of security officers at some of CATS' main transit centers. WBTV investigative reporter David Hodges joins us with his story after talking with Charlotte City Council members.
City leaders I spoke with said CATS has to do better for the people who rely on the bus for their livelihood. And they believe that these issues need to be fixed before they can actually go to the voters and ask for a 1-cent sales tax increase to make public transportation in this city better. In February, we followed along with Brian Williams one day as he used the bus to get from the hotel where he lives to his job at South Park Mall.
Do you feel like you can count on this bus?
No.
Since January 1st, Williams says he's had to find a different way to work at least half a dozen times because the bus simply hasn't shown up.
When they don't show up, who you got? So people like me suffer. And when I have to take an Uber, I'm pissed off because I'm trying to save money and get myself out the situation.
If the bus says it's going to be there, it needs to be there. And I think that's a pretty fundamental problem, right, if it's not.
Charlotte Mayor Pro Tem Julie Eisel has been one of the biggest advocates for expanding and improving CATS bus service and said Williams deserves better. On top of reliability issues, Eisel said the CATS app needs to improve so riders know for certain whether the bus will arrive on time.
If it's going to be late, it should be on that app saying it's been delayed. And sometimes that happens, but not always.
But there's more than just reliability problems. A WBTV investigation on Thursday revealed there were no security officers at 3 of Charlotte's transit centers, even after the shooting of driver Ethan Rivera.
No one in our city should be afraid to be at work and to go to work. They're not sure whether they're going to be able to make it home back to their loved ones. And I look to CATS leadership team to address the safety concerns with a sense of urgency.
Councilmember Dimple Ajmera is also calling on CATS leadership, including CEO John Lewis, to find fixes to these problems. In an interview in February, Lewis told WBTV that some solutions could only come from the Transformational Mobility Network Plan, which would require the legislature and Mecklenburg County voters to approve a 1-cent sales tax.
This is a labor-related issue in the short term. The long term is about more frequency, and that requires more buses, more funding, more operators, and more mechanics.
But Ajmera and Eisel say reliability of the bus system needs to get better before they would even dare to ask voters to approve a new sales tax.
We need to earn residents' trust before we even go to sales tax referendum. The reliability is an issue right now, and we need to address that before we ask for more money.
In the meantime, until we get there, we have the opportunity to fix it and build trust in the system.
Regarding reliability of the system, we asked CATS for data that would show its on-time performance since the beginning of the pandemic. It would give us a better idea how often the buses are showing up on time, or sometimes not at all. We asked for that information a month ago, and we're still waiting for it. Reporting in Charlotte, David Hodges, WBTV, on your side.
Charlotte City buses have failed to show up thousands of times already this year.
It's the newest data we have found after our reporting on bus riders who say they can't always count on the bus to show up.
WBTV investigative reporter David Hodges joins us now in studio. And in your research, David, you found this isn't unique just to CATS.
Yeah, Maureen, that's right. It's been a problem that everyone has had to deal with all across the nation. Transit organizations struggling to have bus drivers and buses, and actually CATS performance looks pretty good compared to some other similar cities, but our investigation found the city's impressive numbers don't necessarily reflect reality. Do you feel like you can count on this bus?
No.
In February, we tagged along with Brian Williams on his way to work at South Park Mall. But Williams said between January and February, the CATS bus failed to show up at all 6 separate times.
When I have to take an Uber, I'm pissed off because I'm trying to save money and get myself out this situation.
New data obtained by WBTV shows Williams is far from alone in his frustration. After WBTV requested the information, CATS revealed that from January through March, there were nearly 9,000 missed trips. Some riders are calling them ghost buses, meaning the scheduled bus doesn't show up at all. That left people like Williams waiting for the next bus or finding a different way to get to work altogether.
It's not the system, it's the people that are running the system that are doing stuff wrong. And until they fix those people, nothing is going to change.
We did talk with Mr. Williams, and I'm keenly aware of his problem.
We also spoke with CATS CEO John Lewis in February. He said the CATS driver shortage, mostly responsible for the missed trips, is not unique.
His issue is a labor-related issue that we will deal with, and no different than every other industry, not only here in Charlotte, but nationwide.
So we compared CATS performance with several other similarly sized transit organizations. Even with the nearly 9,000 ghost buses, CATS reported it still had buses for 97% of the total trips from January through March. Lynx in Orlando said it made 96% of its trips. Milwaukee County Transit System made more than 99% of its trips. According to the data, CATS buses also perform very well when it comes to being on time, called on-time performance. In Charlotte, a bus is considered on time if it's less than 5 minutes late and no more than a minute early. Most recently, CATS buses showed up on schedule 84% of the time. Detroit was at 69%, Lynx and Orlando at 76%, and Milwaukee County also at 84%. A lot of this is determined by traffic and congestion, but there's one other big factor. CATS has not been counting the nearly 9,000 missed trips against its on-time performance. If it did, it would be closer to 80%. We asked CATS why it wasn't counting missed trips as part of its on-time performance. A spokesperson said they only count provided trips to refine schedules and trips. We also asked how CATS is addressing the ghost buses, but the spokesperson just identified what the problem was again.
And we have been looking into this performance time issue, and we actually found out that it's not counted the same everywhere. In Charlotte, it's 5 minutes late, and in some other places, it's up to 7 minutes late, like Philadelphia, and 6 minutes in Baltimore. If your bus is consistently not showing up, you should reach out to us and email us at investigates@wbtv.com. We want to hear from you and how this is impacting you. Guys, back to you at the desk.
We almost hope that people don't have to reach out to you, David, but of course, we know you'll follow through. In case you missed